Hey everyone, Ram Ben Avraham here for AFFTER.com. Before we start, I would like to point out one thing. At my last tutorial, I used sort of a blues guitar loop to accompany my tutorial, and it wasn't a good choice. Some of you may felt a bit seasick from it. So for this tutorial, I've got a new loop, and I think you're gonna like this one. I think this one will hold the tutorial well. Maybe it won't. Okay, moving on. Let's have a quick preview of what we're going to be creating today. Okay, that's pretty interesting. What we're going to be creating today is I'm going to show you a lovely expression which is actually divided to 4 expressions, and the expression is scale relative to distance from the camera, which means the object gets scaled in relativity to its distance from the camera. Some time ago I made a short clip for a philanthropic company. In the clip they wanted to amplify how greatly spread they are across the country. To demonstrate it, I created a bird's view cam that flies over the country. Around the small cam's radius, the city's names that was involved with the company got bigger or smaller in relativity to the cam's distance from them. There were just over 200 cities and I had 5 days to get the job done. I knew I needed an expression to make it possible, so I turned to the master of expressions himself, Dan Abbott, for help. Luckily for me, he was generous enough to help me with the expression, and after I finished the project, I was so pleased with the expression and I wanted to share it with you guys. So I turned again to Dan Abbott, and once again he was generous enough to let me do a tutorial on this expression. And even more than that, he gave me 3 more expressions for the X, Y and Z axis separately. So be sure to visit Dan Abbott's site, MotionsCliffcom. You can find some great expression scripting, animation techniques and other great useful tips over at his wonderful little site. And once again, thank you very much, Dan Abbott. You've been a great help for me. So, let's start, shall we? First we'll start with the XAxis expression. I already created a new composition. It's 1280 by 720 square pixel. Frame rate is 30 frames per second and 10 seconds duration. To this composition, I'm going to drag in the AFFTER logo, and I'm going to create a new camera. Make it 50 millimeters. Okay, and we need to convert the logo to a 3D layer. And now to the position value of the AFFTER logo, we're gonna insert our expression. And it goes like this. Mean scale with a capital S equals 10, semicolon. Max scale equals 100, semicolon. Dist for min scale equals 1000, semicolon. Dist for max scale equals 100, semicolon. P1 equals discomp.activeCamera.toWorld open parentheses, open square parentheses, 0, 0, 0, close parentheses, semicolon. P2 equals toWorld open parentheses, anchor point, close parentheses, semicolon. D equals length, open parentheses, P1, P2, close parentheses, semicolon. S equals ease, open parentheses, D dist for max scale, dist for min scale, max scale, min scale, close parentheses, semicolon. And finally, square parentheses, S, value, square parentheses, 1, close square parentheses. I know it's not called square parentheses, I can't remember its name right now, so I'll just refer to it as is. Let's take this expression and paste it in our position value. So alt click on the stopwatch and paste in the expression, and let's see what's going on here. Let's switch to custom view so we can see what's going on here. Here's our layer, here's the camera. First let's just try to move the camera and see what's happening, what's going on. Sorry, my bad. You should paste the expression in the scale value. My bad, sorry. Now, the closer the camera gets to the layer, the bigger it gets, and when it's stepping away from it, it gets smaller again. Now, as is, it's quite a wonderful little expression, but we can control the values, how big the layer gets, how small it gets, and at what distance the effect takes place. These 4 lines are the ones that are responsible for all these values. So to control them, we're going to create a new adjustment layer. We call it expression control, and we'll create a slider control. We'll add the slider control there, and let's duplicate it 4 times. And the first one we're going to call min scale, the second one will be max scale, the third one will be dist for minimum scale, and the fourth one will be dist for max scale. And let's set the values to be the same, so it's 10, 100, 1000 and 100. And now let's lock this one so it won't slip away, and mark the 10 and pick whip it to the minimum scale slider. We'll just do the same for all the other lines. Okay, and now once again nothing really happens, but now we have a greater control of the values. The values are pretty understood by their name. Min scale is in charge of what's the smallest size the layer can get. So if we'll step back and we'll increase the value, it will get bigger and smaller. So I'll just set it to 0 here, and once the camera will get closer, the layer will grow on the x-axis. Max scale, same. 100 is acting like 100%. So if I increase it, it will get bigger. Decrease it, it will get smaller. I'll just leave it at 100. And dist for min scale, so that means distance for minimum scale, which is here. Let's set it back to 10 so we can see what's going on. It's just about here. 1000 pixels. So if the camera is 1000 pixels away from the layer, that's the minimum distance for the minimum scale. So if I'll decrease it to 500, it will only start scaling once I'll get 500 pixels away from it. And if I'll set it to 2000, it will start scaling once the camera is 2000 pixels away from it. And last, the distance for maximum scale, if I'll set it to 0, it will reach 100% scale value only when the camera and the layer are in the same position. If I'll set it to 500, it will reach the maximum scale once the camera is 500 pixels away from the layer. Now you see how versatile and very useful this expression can get. Right? Right. So now let's move on to the y-axis. In the y-axis expression, the first 8 lines remains the same, but the last line is changed a bit. The S moved to the left. The S moved to the left, and the value is 0 instead of 1. So let's do the necessary changes in our expression. Let's see. Sorry, the S moved to the right, not to the left. I was a bit confused there. And let's see, let's erase this one. We'll change 0 to 1 and comma S, right? Right. Now, same thing goes on here, only on the y-axis. Once again, the values are attached to the expression control, so we can control them. How nice. Now let's move forward to the z-axis. Now for the z-axis, once again, the first 8 lines remains the same. The bottom line is changed to value 0, comma value 1, comma S. So let's do that. So we had value 0, value 1. So let's insert those. Value 0, value 1, and S. Right? So what's going on here right now? We got no change whatsoever. And why is that? Well, that's because our AFFTER logo layer has no Z depth. And in order to this to take effect, we need to make a few adjustments. Let's pre-compose this layer, Ctrl-Shift-C, and we'll call it AFFTER logo 3D. And we'll leave all the attributes in the x-axis because I want the expression to remain here. Okay, so now we have the expression here. Let's hit U. Yeah, the expression is here, and here we have the AFFTER logo as is. Let's convert this layer to a 3D layer and duplicate it once, move it to the back, duplicate once more, to the back, and once again, and just once more. Okay, so now we got 4 duplicates of this same layer, right? Let's see how that affects our composition. It doesn't affect it at all. And why? Because we haven't collapsed the transformation. And now that we have, you can see what effect the expression gives our layer. This isn't that impressive. And in order to create something more impressive, something like you saw in the preview, what I did there is, let's erase these. I have the AFFTER logo separated to the frame, the purple background, and the text. And I took each of those layers and duplicated those on the z-axis and placed them as different layers. You know what? Let's do that. Ctrl-Shift-C, I want to pre-compose the frame, and I want to pre-compose the purple background, and I want to pre-compose the text. Okay, so now on this layer, AFFTER logo, I've got 3 layers. So let's go inside the first one, the frame. We're going to convert it to a 3D layer. We'll change its name to base, and soon you'll see why. We'll duplicate it once and call it extrusion 001. We're going to write a little expression here that's going to help us create a 3D frame here in no time. The expression goes like this: offset equals 1 semicolon, p equals discomp.layer open parentheses open quotes base unquote close parentheses semicolon, offset interval equals math.abs open parentheses index discomp.layer open parentheses quote base index close parentheses and semicolon, square bracket p dot position bracket 0 bracket column p dot position bracket 1 close bracket comma p dot position bracket 2 bracket plus open parentheses offset star offset interval close parentheses bracket and semicolon. Now let's copy this expression and paste it in our position of the layer. So let's reveal the position and alt click on the stopwatch and paste in the expression, and if we'll switch to custom view, you can see the extrusion moved 1 pixel on the z-axis, and if we'll change the offset to 25, it will move 25 pixels on the z-axis. Catching my drift? What we need here is create a new adjustment layer. We need to control the offset, so we'll call it expression control, and we need a slider control once again, and we'll call this one offset, set it to 1, and let's mark the 1 and pick with the slider, And now we got control over how far away it gets. Okay, so now if I'll duplicate the extrusion, let's say 20 times, I get a nice 3D. And if I'll scroll the slider, I can control the distance. How nice is that? We need to repeat the process for the purple background and for the text layer. The quickest way to do that is copy all these layers, Control A, Control C. And let's move to the purple background composition and delete this one, Control V to paste everything. And we'll just mark all the layers we want to replace and alt click on the purple background. And voila, we have the purple background extruded. So once again, let's do that for the text. Very convenient. So now the AFFTER logo composition is built of the 3D extruded frame, purple background and text. Let's collapse the transformation for all those layers. And we don't need to change anything here. Oh yeah, we need to collapse transformation here as well on the AFFTER Plus logo 3D. We don't really need this layer anymore, we can delete this one, but it's already existing here with the expressions, so I'm too lazy to change it, so I'm just gonna leave it there. And now we got a very small effect here. Can you see that? Let's increase it. Let's say that the maximum scale will be 1000. Now we're getting somewhere. And now if I'll set the maximum scale to, let's say, 5000, I get a real nice effect. So actually let's first change the name of this layer to Z-axis, because we're talking about the Z-axis. And let's drag in our frame, purple background and text, make them 3D and collapse transformation. And let's take this expression. You know what? A quicker way to do that is mark the scale value, go to edit, copy expression only, and paste it to the other layers. So now we got no change, and that's because all the layers are in the same place. But if I'll isolate the frame, the purple background and the text, you can see they're all in separate places. So what I want to do is, let's see, I would like the frame to be way in the back, the purple background should be in the middle, and the text should be somewhere around here. So now if I'll move the camera from the back, I'll set a keyframe for it here. Of course you should never move cameras this way, you should always use a null object to move them. But I'm too lazy right now, and this is just for the example's sake. And let's move to 5 seconds mark and move the camera here. And once the camera gets here, I want the frame and purple background position, I want to start moving from 3 seconds mark, and once they get to 5 seconds mark, I want it to be where the text is, which is this value. So we'll get and we need to move the camera a little to the back. So once again we'll get the complete logo. So the animation we've got here right now is the camera moves from the back and it's all coming together quite fine. See that from the active camera point of view. And now you know how I did that fancy preview. Now of course this needs more tweaking, but you get the main idea. on how to use this expression on the z-axis to get the same effect I created there. One more thing, the fact that we have so many layers creates an optical illusion, and the way actually to get around it is to, what I did is I rendered out this bit in 60 frames per second as a JPEG sequence, and then I imported it and re-rendered it at 30 frames per second, and that helped with the optical illusion that was created in the, especially around with the frame layers, where you get a lot of flickering. So that's a quick tip about that. And now the last expression, the XYZ expression. So let's create another new composition, and we'll call it XYZ. Let's drag inside our AFFTER plus logo, and we'll scale it down, convert it to a 3D layer, and I'm gonna just move it around in space and duplicate it, move it here, duplicate this one, move it here and to the front, and just once more. Okay, and now I'll create a new camera, and let's see how the XYZ expression looks. So once again, the first 8 lines remains the same, and the last line is brackets S comma S brackets. Let's copy and paste the expression. So let's see where did we left the expression. Here we got the expression. Okay, right, so copy this expression, and actually let's copy this expression control and paste it here, and now let's copy the expression, and let's see, hit the S, alt click on the stopwatch, Control V to paste in the expression, and let's move things around here so you can see what's going on. The last line we just need to set it to S, right, and it's already attached to the expression control layer. And now let's hit S, edit, copy expression only, and Control V. And now if I'll switch to custom view, if I move my camera around, you can see, well, you can't really see anything because the layers get too big, so let's take care of that. They're getting, the max scale is 5000. Let's switch it to 500. So let's switch it to 100 so we can see what's going on. Okay, there, can you see? And that, my friends, saved me so much time, because I had 200 of these layers, and animating all these layers in a manual way would take me, I don't know, something like 3 months or so. And this expression saved me so much time, and now I'm sharing it with you guys. So you get the main concept on how to use this expression. And once again, I would like to thank Dan Everett, the master of expressions, that made this tutorial possible. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and until next time, my name is Raven Abraham for AFFTER+.com.